Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of the Terri Cole Show. So, I want to ask you a couple of questions. Is there any particular family members that you need to interact with that you dread seeing because it's painful to interact with them, because they're asking you super personal questions, because they're complaining, or is it just difficult for you to navigate family gatherings? That's what this entire thing is about. So, in today's video, I'm going to be helping you figure out how you can get out of the seemingly impossible social situation where you feel like if you don't answer the question, you're being rude, and if you answer it, then you're abandoning yourself, navigating inappropriate comments and people who tell jokes that are super not funny, and protecting yourself and your right to not divulge information that you don't want to people who you don't want to. So if you happen to be new to my YouTube channel, it's me, Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert. I am also the author of Boundary Boss and the Boundary Boss Workbook, which you can get at boundarybossworkbook.com. It's right there, my new workbook. It's so good. If you haven't gotten it, I think you will love it. All right, before we get into it, if you happen to be new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. Hey, everything I do for you guys. I don't want you to miss anything. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that little bell icon so that you get notified every time I roll out something new, which is every Tuesday and every Thursday, to help you up-level the quality of your life. I also love to feature your comments and say thank you so much for all the comments and the questions, because I read them all. This is from Marusha under the video, Less Self-Abandonment, More Self-Love Now. Thank you so much, Terri. I love how you break down big subjects and always go deep in a caring and loving way, so it's easy to understand what to do in order to change that. Your work is so well appreciated. Warmest, Marusha. Well, Marusha, thanks for taking the time to leave a comment. I super duper appreciate you for being here. All right, I think we should move it on into today's actual content. So let's talk a little bit about conversational boundaries. And listen, this is going to be helpful for you, whether it's in a family situation or it could be a work situation. It could be your, party at work, your Christmas party, your holiday party at work. It could be anywhere where you need to be offensive and defensive when it comes to communication with certain people. So this is the time of year, a lot of times, that people are gathering, right? We have more get-togethers than we usually do at this time of year. And so a lot of times we're seeing people that we only see once a year. And even if they're family, sometimes this can be really awkward and uncomfortable when someone is asking you intimate questions, whether it's about your health, whether it's about what you do or don't eat, whether it's about your relationship status. It can be difficult. So let's think about, what can you do? First of all, let's establish that you don't have to give anyone information that you don't want to, right? That's kind of the first thing, because I feel like a lot of us were taught that it's rude to not answer a question. And I'm coming at it from the point of view that even if someone is concerned, that doesn't mean you have to answer their question, even if their heart is in the right place. At your grandma's gathering, you may not feel like having this deep conversation, even if it's someone who you might want to have the conversation with at another time. I'm not making any assumptions about the other person's motivation. What I care about is I want you to dial into how you want to feel, what makes you feel comfortable in these situations. If it's someone that you wouldn't ask advice from, it's probably not someone you would tell your deepest, darkest secrets to either, even if they ask. So what can we do instead, right? What can we do instead of divulging information that we don't want to, or having a conversation that we don't want to be in? Well, you can opt out, right? You don't have to have a conversation with anyone that you don't want to. And you can easily just opt out and say, oh, excuse me, actually, I'm going to jump to the ladies' room quick. I'll be right back. And then don't come back, or don't even say you'll be right back. You can say, I want to refresh my drink, or I just saw my mom and I need to go talk to her, right? We often worry so much about what other people think about us and what we're doing. And really the truth, and I know this sounds depressing and people say it, but it's true. Most of the time, folks are not really thinking about us. They're thinking about themselves. And if you excuse yourself and say, hey, I'm going to jump out to the bathroom or whatever, there's nobody, they're not going to be like, oh my God, where'd you go? They're probably not. They're most likely going to pick up a conversation with someone else. And that's okay, right? It's okay to it's not your problem, is my point. Another thing is dealing with people who are drunk or people who have indulged too much in the holiday spirit, so to speak. This is another thing that you don't have to silently suffer. And trust me, they're not going to remember. So don't torture yourself with a painful conversation with someone who's 3 sheets to the wind, because you don't need to, again, excuse yourself, right? Okay, the next thing you can do is you can redirect a conversation, right? If someone asks you a question and you don't want to answer, you can either straight up ignore their question, which I know sounds funny or even might sound weird. You're like, can I just ignore them? Here's the thing, you can redirect, you can change the subject. Because really, when we redirect a conversation, a lot of times people really want to talk about themselves. So if Uncle Bob is like, why'd you lose your job? You can say, oh, well, you know what, actually, let's put that on hold. I wanted to ask you about what happened with, bring it back to something that they're going to want to talk about that has to do with themselves. And the reality is, I doubt they'll even come back to the question. And if they do, you can also just straight up say, this isn't the time or the place to talk about that, but I appreciate your concern. And you can just leave it there. And in the guide for this, I'm actually going to give you a whole bunch of scripts and techniques that you can use so that you will have them right at your fingertips when you need them the most, when you are in sort of family gathering situations. But I think the biggest thing we have to do before we get into those situations is sort of change our minds about what's okay. Because I think a lot of us, there was home training that makes us feel rude to not engage with someone or to not answer someone's question without really coming from the point of view that someone asking you an inappropriate question, at a family gathering, whether it's a holiday gathering or not, that's pretty rude. And I don't even think it matters who's rude, right? Because it's a perception. What matters is that you protect yourself and not stay in a conversation with someone that is torturing you, not tell someone something about yourself that you don't want to. So again, flipping the script is another thing that you can do if if it gets rude, right? If it really does get too much, or if the person is insisting on asking you that question, even though you've already tried to redirect them a few times, if they straight up ask you a question like, what happened? I heard you had a miscarriage, let's say, and this is a true story from one of my clients. You can use the Kasia Urbaniak. She's a power dynamic expert, and I quote her a lot because this is her original work, where she says to question the questioner's question. So if someone says, what happened? I heard you had a miscarriage. You can just straight up say, why would you ask me that? Or why would you want to know that? And a lot of times that stops someone in their tracks, because if you're saying it that way, they realize you don't like it, if they keep persisting. Why would you ask me that really works, or why would you want to know that? Those are the two that I've used very successfully. And it has a lot to do with the way that you deliver it. Because if it is your Uncle Bob and you don't want to completely annihilate him, let's just say, then you can do it with a pleasant look on your face, but you're still flipping the power script onto them. Instead of the onus being on you to answer their inappropriate question. And listen, maybe they are just being caring, but I don't think a holiday gathering is the place to do it, right? And if you have a great relationship with them, you can say, hey, I really do want to talk about this with you, but not here. So let's make a plan to have lunch. A lot of the strategies that I'm talking about, it's more for people who you're never going to want to share this type of intimate information with, right? Because of course there's ways for us to talk to the people that we love and care about. Even if we don't want to have the conversation now, you can say, hey, let's make a lunch plan. That's not a big deal. But that's still putting up a boundary, though, right? It's still an appropriate boundary to say, I don't want to have this conversation here, but if it's someone you care about, you might be saying, but I do want to have it with you. And again, this requires you to be at the place in your own self-knowledge where you really get that you don't owe anyone information that you don't feel comfortable sharing, no matter who they are. That I really want you to think about how you feel, what you think, what you want. This has to matter to you, as I love to say, more than what anyone else feels, thinks, and wants. It really does. I mean, listen, our long-term relationships, sure, we consider what our partner wants, thinks, and feels, right? But in life in general, when it comes to a situation like this, where we're talking about having a conversation with someone and them literally digging for information that you don't want to share or that's painful for you, like someone it's their morbid curiosity. A lot of times, if you're not close with the person, they're just curious, which doesn't mean you owe them to share something that's in your most tender heart to satisfy their curiosity. Another thing that's really helpful, if you already know the players in your family or your friend group, use your own body language to empower you. When you see someone you don't want to talk to, keep walking. What do I like to say? Nothing says I'm not stopping to chat like actually not stopping to chat. So you can wave, you can be like, oh, good to see you here. I'm actually headed to the bathroom. I'm going to get a drink or whatever it is. If you've had bad experiences in the past with people, be clear about who you really don't want to talk to and then set yourself up for success from the beginning so that you're not repeating the past bad experiences that you've had. And you can always excuse yourself. But you want your body language to support what it is that you're saying, what it is that you're feeling. Because if you stand there, if someone's talking to you and they're torturing you, but you're leaning forward like you're all in and you're giving them eye contact, this is it. Like, this is you using your body language. Step backwards, or better yet, don't stop to talk, is what I say. I also think that there's a way that if someone is making an inappropriate comment, if someone is making an off-color joke, you can just stop them right in their tracks. How we always have, why is it in every family, there's always someone who is going to do this. It's like they use their own racist, misogynistic, homophobic attitudes, or maybe they just do it to get a rise. But I actually just personally, I've removed myself, where as soon as there's a joke, I use my body language, put my hand up, I'll immediately say, no thanks. That's my go-to if someone is being really offensive, and especially if it's a family member where I don't want to get into a brawl with them at whatever it is we're doing. I just remove myself. I'll say, no thanks, not for me. And I'll just go to where the food is, or I'll go to where one of my sisters is hanging out or whatever. But you don't have to tolerate that, even if it's family stuff. You really don't. And again, these scripts are just go to terricole.com/guide. I've created a whole bunch of scripts for you. And the same thing with, an interrupter. If it's someone you see once a year and you don't even care, I just let them interrupt. I don't even give a shit. I'm just like, okay, this conversation's got to be over soon. But if it's actually you're in a group of people that you like and you really are trying to tell a story, I think it's all right to just put your one finger up to just say, oh, hey, can you please let me, Cousin Betty, please let me finish what I'm saying. I like to use humor. I'll always say it, because if I don't say it now, I'll forget, or something like that, where I'll kind of put it on myself so that I'm not being super offensive. But it's also hard you're talking to people and it doesn't feel good, right? If someone is constantly stepping on you. A big part of this process, though, is you preparing yourself, right? Have a couple of these phrases in your back pocket before you go into a family situation. Don't feel guilty for wanting to protect yourself, because really you're the only one who can. Like, this is actually your job to protect yourself. I always make decisions about, like, is it a fight I want to take on? How important is the person? How important is the conversation? I never tolerate bullshit from people in a real way. right? Maybe I'll have more bandwidth if it's my 85-year-old aunt, let's say, than I would if it were my cousin who's the same age as me. And again, if the people insist on continuing on, the most power you have is to get out of the situation. Even if they continue on, you can be like, oh, let me excuse myself. I'm going to use the ladies' room. Nobody can stop you from doing that. Even if it seems abrupt, who cares? What they're doing is rude. What they're doing is not letting up, even though you've been sort of gently saying no. And I also feel like it's important that after the fact, with family situations that are draining, that you really take time to recharge your own batteries, right? That you realize it's okay. Families can be very challenging, and there's nothing wrong with you if that's how you're experiencing your family. But I also want you to put limits on how much time you're going to spend with people and how much you're going to do around the holidays. And then afterwards, give yourself a couple of hours to just regroup. Give yourself a whole day, right? To just read a book or relax, take a tub, do something that actually fills up your bucket, because these things can be really draining and exhausting. And if that's your experience, I have to say, there's nothing wrong with you. You're very normal, right? This is the nature of families. So self-care is probably the top most important thing, and not letting other people dominate you when you're in conversation with them, right? Protecting yourself. I hope that this added value to your life. You can get the guide at terricole.com/guide. Let me know if this landed with you, if you're going to use any of these tips and strategies that I shared in this episode. You guys know where I hang out most is probably Instagram. So if and when you listen or see this on YouTube or listen to the pod, tag me in what you're listening and give me your aha moments, and I'm happy to repost it. In the meantime, I hope you have the most amazing week. And as always, take care of you.